Hey guys, it is Kuise bringing you the third match between Theory and Opticalrh. This is a matchup from the quarterfinals of the Zeke Wednesdaily competition. Both of these players are Grandmasters. If you saw the last two casts, you know it is 1-1 right now between Theory playing the purple Protoss up here in the 12 o'clock position, and in the 9 o'clock we have Opticalrh in the red. We are on Terminus Ray here, GSL Terminus Ray. It is the third map. Once again in a best of 3 series. Obviously this is the deciding game. Optical won the first one in pretty impressive fashion, and Theory just did a fantastic job getting a really hefty macro lead and putting it to use in that last game, and then just making tons of units out of it and putting way too much pressure on RH to deal with it. So let's see what happens here. One game apiece. It's anyone's game. Terminus Ray, though, a map, and with this sort of spawning situation, it's a map that's going to give Opticalrh a slight advantage. He is a player that loves drop play. We haven't seen too much from him. We saw one drop in the first game, none on that last map, Xel'Naga Caverns, in that second game. But this third, which potentially Theory will try and expand into, it's going to be very, very easy for Opticalrh to drop this from his main. Just build up some starports, throw 8 Marines in there, fly on over, drop them in, hit the mineral line, do tons of damage. We'll see if he can take advantage of that, or if the game even goes that long. I'm not exactly sure. Once again, both these players are Grandmasters. Both players have been featured in our CESN Player of the Week tournament, which is worth checking out Friday at 5 p.m. JustinTV/CESN. So go check that out. We have had a really good couple of weeks on our sort of live casting stuff, so we do appreciate the support from those of you who have been watching. For those of you who haven't, go check it out. That's part of the reason the YouTube channel has been a little bit sparse lately, but striving to rectify that for you guys right here. Anyway, Optical going ahead and getting that wall early, putting down what I will expect to be half a supply depot. There you go, to keep out probes. Barracks on the way as well. Meanwhile, over here in Theory's base, you see a gas going down, probably a 14 gas, 12 gate. Pylon here behind the mineral line. We're going to try and high tech back there. Look for the second gas, whether or not it comes up. He has been doing the 3-gate robo almost every time, getting Colossus on the field, doing a pretty good job microing them. Last game did a really good job defending against that Viking pressure Optical tried to put on him. Although there weren't that many of them, Theory did take the time to get like 2 or 3 stalkers on the Vikings and away from the bio ball, so that his Colossus could live longer, and that's part of the reason he ended up winning in that exchange, actually. Anyway, Marine out here from RH. Not doing too much, maybe just scout around this sort of northwestern Xel'Naga tower is going to play a pretty important role here. Obviously it's between the 2 bases, so that could come into play. Optical getting some decent scouting done. He's going to see the second gateway here behind the mineral line that Theory was trying to hide potentially, and you do see he has a Zealot out now. It's going to force this SCV away, although I doubt it will be able to kill it. No second gas down yet from Theory quite yet. Be interested to see if he goes with the same build he has opted for in the last 2 games. If not, what he'll actually do behind it. Now, Opticalrh seems to be going with this 1-rack expand. You do see a refinery also going down and a bunker here down at the natural to provide a little bit of extra defense. Probe trying to get here, see what's going on. Not going to get too far. Supply depot's going up. Well, actually, wow, a little bit late on that second one, Optical, but the probe just couldn't get in there. And yeah, but the probe did see this bunker going down, so it's going to know, okay, he's probably going to be expanding in the next couple of moments. Let's see how Theory reacts to that scouting information, whether or not he puts down his own expansion here, or if he tries to push a little bit. He doesn't really have too many units, though. He's got 1 Zealot, 1 Sentry here, and that's really it. Stalker on the way. Second gateway is up, bring out a Stalker as well, so 2 Stalkers on the way now. Do see a Barracks getting the Tech Lab here. Wall is no more, doesn't really need it at this point because there are bunkers down here going to provide enough defense that stuff probably isn't going to be jumping up into his main. Never know though. Barracks coming down from RH, 2 more actually, and this forward expansion is morphing into an orbital command. Should be done, should be flown down in a couple moments. Take a look at the Harvester tab. It's 24/21. Advantage to Theory. Concussive shells on the way for Opticalrh, so presumably he's going to go Marine Marauder with sort of early Marauder pressure as well. Let's see what he gets on the second barracks in terms of attachments. Looking like a reactor. So yeah, just Marine Marauder, fairly standard stuff from RH. It's interesting that we haven't seen more drop play out of him at this point, honestly. I was expecting a little bit more in terms of dropping, because he is a player that does so well with his drop play, and just haven't really seen that put to use in this series quite yet. So hopefully on this map, which is very conducive to it, look at how much space is back in this top left corner, by the way, for medevacs to go into. So hopefully he'll take advantage of that a little bit. Probe coming in, going to be sacked for a little bit of scouting. I'm not going to get too much. So he sees the Marauder, so he knows that those are up and there are tech labs down on those barracks, but didn't know if their concussive shell research was done or not. It obviously is. We can see that, but in that exchange, it's hard for him to tell whether or not he could see that concussive shell research was done. 2 zealots on the way to supplement this force. There is a forward pylon here. Obviously you've seen it, but didn't really point it out. Would like to maybe see one a little bit closer up as well, but we'll see. Nice pressure so far though from Theory. Not quite as good as the last game when he completely denied the natural, but he's not allowing Optical to push out too much. He's just sort of hanging out around here. The bunker is just going to keep this at bay, though. Can't really see him getting too much. Robotics facility on the way, though, looking like 3 racks with the robotics facility, and you do see he has put down his own nexus and saturated it actually behind this pressure, which is very nice. Much easier to defend your expansions when your force is sort of boxing your opponent inside their natural. So the harvester count is 33 over 30. Slight advantage to Opticalrh. He did have his natural expansion done a little bit earlier, so that does make sense. Keep in mind he does have those mules up though, so if you look at the income tab, it is a little bit of a vaster income advantage for Optical at this point than Theory would maybe like, but nothing that's going to be too game-changing at this point. If it does stay that way for too long though, Theory could be in trouble. Robotics bay on the way once again, pretty early from Theory, rushing out those Colossus, trying to get them out there before those Vikings really get on the field from RH, or Optical, excuse me. RH is his clan. A good clan too. They show up a lot on the Zeke dailies, which by the way, if you don't watch, you should come check those out. As I mentioned, we do have those live starting at 9:30 every night on the Justin TV stream, justin.tv/CESN. So swing by and check that out. Normally I'm there with Chocobo Rider or Octopus Rum or Cherry Coke or somebody, so it is a fun time, and it does go from like 9:30 to 2 in the morning, so definitely always a good time to see that. Anyway, reactor going down on this factory. Starport on the way, presumably going to switch those around and get medevacs. We'll see though, he's going to have to get Vikings once again, and I like that these Vikings are being forced out so early from Theory. It keeps those medevacs at play, and potentially is part of the reason we haven't seen as much drop play as I'd maybe like to see out of Optical, because he's been forced to get those Vikings to deal with those Colossus out of his Starport. Now we do see a Ghost Academy coming down from Opticalrh, and it is here behind the mineral line, decently placed, so that Optical is going to have a difficult time finding it with observers. Although he doesn't really have too many out. You take a look, there's one right there. But I don't think he's seen it. Take a look at his vision. Hasn't really seen what's going on back here in the natural. So that's going to be really good for Opticalrh. Once again, those EMPs are very important, particularly in a Terran versus Protoss, excuse me. Not sure where this starport's going. There you go. Factory going to scat out. Little misclick there from RH, no big deal though. Do you see a third going down from Theory? So this could be good for him. He's got a slight disadvantage still, 51 over 48 advantage to our Terran player. His third's going down right now, actually, by the way, as I say that. Ghost coming out. Let's see if these are dropped in or left in the unit composition. Obviously, if they're dropped in, they'd go right for the mineral line, snipe out some of those probes. But if they are in the unit composition, they're going to be predominantly for EMPs to deal with those shields on those Colossus and other Tier 1 units. So we'll see what happens. Fairly decent Marine Marauder force here. Do have concussive shells, as we mentioned. Stim has been finished as well. And in terms of supplies, slight advantage to Opticalrh, but it's really going to come down to micro at this point. You do see this factory flying around. Optical does a very good job scouting with this. Going to see that third is on the way. If he didn't already know that, I don't think he did. So he's going to know, okay, well, I have my third up as well. Not a huge deal. I should have maybe a very slight advantage, but things are going to be fairly even at this point. I'm going to have to do a little bit of harass. And that's something I'd like to see more out of both of these players, honestly. Theory did it a little bit last game, but he didn't really get to the mineral line. Got a couple of those linebacker SCVs because he forced Optical to pull them with that initial pressure, but it wasn't really harass. Would love to see maybe warp prisms used, not necessarily void rays, but some kind of drop play, something that's going to catch your opponent off guard so that you're just not fighting big, massive battles in the middle of the map. You want to make sure that you try and get as much as you can in terms of probes, SCVs, whatever's on the mineral line, drones, in other exchanges that you can win and sort of not put too much of your force into. Now let's take a look at the Harvester tab. It's almost dead even now, so that's definitely good news for Theory. Look at the income. Still a slight advantage to Opticalrh, but it's pretty much evened out. You do see Vikings on the way from Opticalrh. 2 of them are out, and there are actually another 2 hanging out here with these medevacs. But once again, we don't really see too much drop play. These ghosts are down here with the army, and actually, as I say that, Curse of the Caster, of course, medevac picks up a bunch of these Marines. It looks like 2 Octodrops are headed over, and this could be absolutely devastating for Theory. You take a look at his mineral lines. He's got 1 photon cannon in his third because he knows it's going to be difficult to defend. His natural is very, very open. There are a couple stalkers there, though, but his main is completely open. So let's see where this goes. Let's see what Optical decides.